I'm starting to agree with people who say churches should be taxed. Let me tell you why. The IRS says any 501c3 non-taxed organization is absolutely prohibited from directly or indirectly participating in or intervening in any political campaign on behalf of or in opposition to any candidate for public office. Yet consistently untaxed American right-wing churches do things like this.
Folks, let me tell you, what you're seeing today is exactly what President Biden wants for our country. President Joe Biden wants to destroy this country. He wants to destroy our schools. He wants to destroy your family. And he wants to destroy our Christian faith.
That's Oklahoma Republican State Superintendent Ryan Walters speaking at Sheridan Church in Tulsa. Absolutely violating the IRS guidelines. You see, being bestowed the 501c3 status is a covenant between an organization and a community. The community says we won't charge you income tax like we do other revenue generating organizations in our community. And the 501c3 says what we do will put our resources toward the community's good, not toward political campaigns or other self-interest. And in becoming right-wing mouthpieces, churches have absolutely violated that covenant. Churches like this one are taking up prime pieces of real estate, some of them huge pieces, and not a dime of property taxes charged them to help fund schools and roads and police officers and fire departments. And yet when the city is experiencing a disaster or a heat wave, the church's doors are locked to helping people out. But let me tell you an even dirtier secret. Pastors get housing allowance. Look at the house of Pastor Joel Osteen. Not only does he get to write off the mortgage to this castle like any other American does with their home, but he gets to add up that mortgage cost, any new furniture he buys, any yard upkeep, anything that he buys and declares as housing is taken out of his recorded income for IRS tax purposes. A double dip of non-taxation for pastors. And the idea of housing allowance when it began was, pastors, we know you're going to get paid in like chickens from your people, so we want to make it easier for you to have housing with the low income you get for the good work that you do. But now when pastors are millionaires, this housing allowance doesn't make any sense anymore. Another secret about taxing the church is guys like QAnon nutball Lance Wallnau can declare their political work a ministry and make it into a non-taxed 501c3 organization and get housing allowance. Surveys show that almost 80% of the untaxed charitable giving of a church like this goes towards staff salary and building cost, and the remaining 20% almost always is spent on internal needs of its people rather than anybody outside the building. These churches are taking up prime land, not paying any property tax, and not living up to their covenant with the community. Churches ought to be required to prove their benefit for the community to keep their not-for-profit status. And bigger, higher income churches should be allowed to spend no more than 50% of their income on internal needs. And housing allowance should not be available to any pastor who's making a salary higher than the middle income level of their community. And parachurch organizations should have an even higher bar of proof of their value to community, and their leaders get no housing allowance. And churches should completely lose their not-for-profit status if they don't stop doing things like this. You want to make America great again? Think about the billions of lost tax dollars each year that we could compel churches to use to support and seek justice for the poor and the marginalized and the foreigner and the economically disadvantaged, or we could just tax them and they could do whatever they want inside those buildings.